and thank you so much for joining me for Technique Tuesday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. Every second Tuesday of the month, I bring you a technique class. Tonight's techniques, there are multiple, all center around one product, the Stampin' Write Markers. These markers are water-based, so don't confuse them with the Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol-based. They have different uses. Let's check out what you can do with the Stampin' Write Markers. For our first card, we're going to use a very basic technique with our Stampin' Write marker, and I'm going to be using Strawberry Slush. We're going to start with a card base that is a hot dog fold, so it is 4 1/4 by 11, scored in half and folded at 5 1/2. And this is Pretty in Pink, and we're bringing in this beautiful Designer Series paper from the Florals in Bloom collection. I'll show you a few more of those patterns in a little bit on a future card. I'm going to just adhere that right down here. It is cut to cover the entire length of the card, but not the entire width. So we're just leaving about 1/4 inch over there. I have a piece of Pretty in Pink ribbon. This is one reason why I wanted to do a hot dog fold, so that I can wrap this around the inside of the card. This measures, let's see, this piece measures about 14 inches. If you like a little bit more ribbon to play with to make a knot, then that's okay. So I do a half knot, then I put my finger in the center, fold the one that's pointing up down, hold it with my thumb, and then this one goes over and through the hole. And then I just pull a little bit more with the right-hand side than with the left, and I get a very nice flat knot. So I'm going to turn this to the side a little bit, and I will be trimming the end. This is the Pretty in Pink bordered ribbon. I think this one's a little long too, so we'll trim that. All right. I've gone ahead and cut 2 labels, one from Strawberry Slush and one from Basic White. And this uses the textured dies, the Textured Notes dies. The Textured Notes dies are part of a bundle, part of my clubhouse this month. And the dies themselves have nothing to do with the stamp set. So this is a great standalone purchase, although honestly, I really love the bundle. I think the other one is so good for masculine, feminine, any kind of cards. But you can see you have these textured rectangles. And so I've just cut them both the same where I'm going to be layering them. But first I need to stamp, of course. Bring in a piece of scrap paper here so that I'm not stamping on my thing. I need a sentiment. Since I'm using the Textured Notes dies, I may as well bring in this little sentiment too, a little note of appreciation. And this is red rubber. So because I can't see through red rubber and make sure that this is stamping straight, what I'm going to do, first of all, I'll bring in my Strawberry Slush pad. I'm going to just see if I stamp down here, it looks like I can stamp pretty straight with it. So it stamps the way I want it to. So I'm just going to put that on there, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Pretty in Pink. And the Pretty in Pink is going to be not Petal Pink, Pretty in Pink, Sharon. Pretty in Pink. I'm going to get out my Pretty Florals stamp set. I'm going to use this a couple times during this class. And I just want this open image of the top of the hyacinth. Just that open image one. This is a 2-step stamp set. I'm just using one stamp. One step. And I'm stamping right over the top there, just to add a little something. Now here's where the marker comes in. I'm going to add a little bit of detail to those images. I'm going to take, now the Stampin' Write marker has a brush tip end and a bullet point end. I'm just going to take the bullet point end and we're going to put centers on those flowers. So because this is a slightly darker ink, they're going to show up. And I can put them where they don't even exist if I want to. All right. So it just adds a little bit of something there. Let's bring back our card. And we'll get the scrap paper out. And we need our other piece of strawberry slush. Here it is. And we're just going to layer that on just so it peeks out over here a little bit. Take our adhesive. Just going to use that decorative border to determine my placement. We'll bring in, oh, I'm getting down to the ends here of one of these packages of, now actually what I'm going to do, because this is going to stick over we're going to put this right over here. I'm going to move this over to the side just a little bit more. So this is going to go right here. I'm going to put my dimensionals at the very top and very bottom. And I don't even really need 2 at the very bottom. I'm just going to use 1 just to keep it balanced. And that way the ribbon comes right through the middle and we don't have some extra wonkiness. And so there is our card front. Now another thing that you can do, I'm going to go ahead and do the same kind of thing on the inside. I'm just going to stamp in pretty in pink a bottom of hyacinth tops. This is a note of appreciation, so we need to leave plenty of room for a note. See how it just adds a little bit that you couldn't otherwise get? I just want the daintiness of the outlines. Just a little extra spice in here in the middle. All right, let's see. I think there's a couple other places that we could put some. There we go. Another use for the bullet point is in writing your note. And I don't know what I'm thanking somebody so much for, but we're going to do it. Now, it's not a fine tip. So if you want a fine tip, then especially if you're going to be writing a lot more, then you probably don't want to use the marker. But having the marker ties it all together because it's the same color as what you've stamped with. So the bullet point is not just for coloring in tight areas. It's also for writing and just adding some little detail. I'm going to show you another use for it in just a moment. But here is our first card. For for this first card, I'm going to be bringing in the Pretty Florals stamp set. While this is a bundle, I'm only using the stamp set on this. And this is a 2-step stamp set, which means for the flowers on this, it's going to be, to get them to be having a lot of depth and texture, it's you stamp a solid image first in color, and then you lay another color over the top with the detail. The stems are just one step. I'm starting with a piece of basic white that measures 2.5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to flag this end, so make it a banner. I cut up the middle, and then I cut from each diagonal to the top of that. And there we have that. I'm going to bring in Garden Green ink for my stems. There we go. Now, I want to use some cloud cover here. I'm going to be making my flowers in cloud cover and Secret Sea. However, as I've mentioned before, we don't have a large pad in cloud cover because the ink reacts with the foam. So until I get my ink spot and ink refill, I'm going to have to use a marker to get my color. So a Stampin' Write marker is what you want to use. You don't use blends for this technique because they dry too quickly. It'll just dry on your stamp and not come off. Alcohol-based stuff is not good for photopolymer anyway. So you're just going to color with your Stampin' Write marker on this. And I will say that this technique is better when the image is red rubber. It seems to come out better. But this will work for our purposes because we are layering something on the top of it. So once you've got it colored, you're going to huff on it a couple times to re-moisten that ink. And then you're going to stamp. So you can see, like, the ink over here dried a lot more. I must not have huffed very well on that. So it's just very faint over there. I can try stamping again. It's kind of mottled over here. But remember, a flower is going to have different colors throughout it. And we're covering it up anyway. But again, it does work better on the red rubber. The ink seems to stay a little bit more moist. So even though this looks like it's not a great technique, it's what I've got for cloud cover right now and the stamp set I'm using. So, and then when I put this over it, look how beautiful it looks anyway. That detail has just added just enough. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little piece of Designer Series paper. And I'm using the Florals in Bloom Designer Series paper, which I'm going to show you some of the pieces here. This is the back side. Look at these beautiful hyacinths. I love blues and purples and greens together. And then I also love this one. It's got some strawberry slush and pretty in pink and timid tiger, probably darling duckling. The back side of that is just some designs. Strawberry slush, this is the back side of another beautiful paper. And then we've got some purples. And this is where that, this little strip that I'm using came from. There's also another pattern that we'll be using on our card front. This is the one side of it, and then this is the side that I'm going to be using. I'm going to take this little strip, which measures 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches. See my red fingers? I was dyeing ribbon last night, and they were really bad last night before I washed them. There we have that. I'm going to bring in some linen thread. I'm going to tie it around here in a bow. And I usually leave it on the spool so I'm not wasting any, but you may feel more comfortable tying off the spool. I shouldn't say so that I don't waste any, so I don't waste some. There will be some I have to trim off one end. All right, fingers, let's work today. Okay, and so there we have our little bow. I'll get the loops to be the size I want them. Give another little tug. That's good. And this side I can just trim exactly so that's where the less waste comes from. There we go. I'm going to be putting this on a card using dimensionals. So while I've got that here, let's go ahead and use some dimensional edges here. I'm going to hold my linen thread kind of in place by just putting those right over it. Okay. So I need a card base to put this on. Now, I don't like to waste designer series paper if I can help it. And I didn't want, so normally we cut our 12 by 12 into 4-inch strips and you'll see a layer of white outside, but I wanted to cover the whole card front. So rather than making this 4 1/4 inches wide, which would only get us two full strips to work with and make 4 cards, I made this 4 inches wide and I cut down the size of my card base. This is thick basic white and it is 8 inches by 5 1/4 instead of 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. Just fold that in half. My bone folder's around here somewhere. And I'm going to adhere that right to the front. All right. Perfect. Now we're going to take our backings off here. And adhere this to the card front. Put that right about here. And now I need a little sentiment. So I brought in a garden green strip and I'm going to emboss in white on this. So it's raining out, so I'm definitely going to use my embossing buddy. Bring in my Versamark pad. I have a hello stamp from an old paper pumpkin. One of the reasons why I love paper pumpkins so much, not just because I can create some cards without having to think, because they do the design work for me, but because it gives me lots of sentiments. I have sentiments going back years and years. I think this sentiment is from a stamp set that is from 2018. So I keep them in these little plastic things. Yep, see, March 2018. That's 7 years ago, and I'm still getting use out of it. Paper pumpkin really is a much better deal than it looks initially. Because initially you're saying, what, 25, 27 bucks? I don't know what it is right now. But you get to create like 8 projects usually, and you get a stamp set and an ink spot. Those you can use over and over and over again. I love my little ink spots because I can take them and travel with them, or if when I'm using them with friends or at a workshop, I can have extras of a color. Let's bring in my heat tool. And my heat tool is cold, so it's going to take just a second to warm up. But when I start to see the white change, like I am right now, you want to move on and move the gun away from the part that's already been embossed. You don't want to over emboss. So now it's all white and shiny. It's good to go. And we're going to take this, and when I put this on my card front, I'm going to put it right here, and I only want a dimensional out here. Now you can use regular glue or adhesive right there if you want to. I'm choosing not to. I'm just going to use a dimensional out here on the H side of the hello. I'm going to put that right there. You know, if you don't like, you know what, I am going to use a little bit of adhesive here because I don't really like that popping up a bit. So we're just going to put that right there. Perfect. It's a great card as is, but if you want to add in some gems, we have these beautiful faux pearls, and they're very sparkly and they're very flat, or they're flat pearls. So they are faux pearls. They're not real pearls, but these will go on nicely. And I think I'm going to put them on in the cloud cover color. So we want to do 3s. So let's put one up here. And they come in 3 different colors here. Let's put one down here. And remember, you want to put them in a triangular shape. So here I have a triangle. I wouldn't want to put them all in a straight line. That would look weird. There we go. Now, if this card looks familiar to you, it's because it is the same as a card on the front of the current catalog. Right here. So it looks like they've used some different gems. They've used some fatter gems that looks like they're white ones. And they've put on 5 instead of 3. But here's my variation of it, which is a very, very close copy. All right, just a short time out here. If you are watching this as it airs on Tuesday, May 13th, or shortly thereafter, then I am in Orlando celebrating. And what am I celebrating? I am celebrating a year of lots of hard work, fantastic customers, and a great team of demonstrators on the Stamperhood. And I would like to extend a special thank you to anyone who continues to support my business this week while I'm away. Anyone placing an order of at least $50 in my online store between now, Tuesday, May 13th, and Sunday, May 18th, will qualify for double Stampin' Rewards. So when you place your order, say your order is $50, Stampin' Up! Will provide you with $5 in Stampin' Rewards to be used towards a future purchase. I will then gift you that same amount, $5, so that you'll have $10 toward a future purchase. If you spend $75, Stampin' Up! Gives you $7.50, and I will give you $7.50. So you'll get more bang for your buck if you order between now and this coming Sunday. In addition, I'm going to send you a thank you note with a sampler of two-tone cardstock. Two-tone cardstock is the focus of next month's Technique Tuesday, so it'll be great to have it ahead of time so that you can play along with me. I really do appreciate all your support. Thank you for giving me a great time at Disney World. Now, let's get back to our techniques. This next card features a marker used with the mini corrugated embossing folder. Now, this embossing folder is not currently available, so you'll want to just put it on your wish list so that you can grab it when it comes back in stock. I'm going to take a piece of pecan pie and put it in my folder. And let's see, I think I want my lines to run vertically on my card. It's going to be a landscape card. So I'm going to line up the bottom of the cardstock with this line right here. Put it on plate number 1 and then put plate number 4 over the top of it because this is a 3D embossing folder. The fold of the folder goes through first. Now we're just going to add a little something to this. Now, it's pretty all on its own, but we can transform it a little bit. I'm going to bring in a little piece of cardstock, and I'm going to bring in my Early Espresso Stampin' Write marker. Now there's two ways you can do this, and it sort of gives similar looks anyway. Taking the bullet tip, I'm going to just draw in the ditch. And don't go too fast, that way you can get a nice, oh, that one was crooked, but I guess I can't talk and do this at the same time. But if you go fast, you'll get a very thin line if you go too fast. So you do want to press down. And that pressing down will also help you stay in the ditch nice and straight. The other way you can do it is you can take your brush tip and you're just going to go over the top. I actually think this works a little bit better because it's really just hitting on the high points of that corrugation. So this is a way to get a striped paper pretty easily without taking a ruler and drawing in all the stripes yourself, which you could do with your Stampin' Write marker. That's another use for it. All right, so I think I like this best. I'm going to bring in a piece of, let's see how the difference. So this definitely looks a lot better. I'm going to bring in a card base of Early Espresso. And of course, you could even alternate colors if you wanted to and you were careful enough. I think if you were going to alternate colors, you'd want to use the ditch method instead of the top method. All right, so this gives a really masculine look to this card front, I think. I'm going to bring in another piece of Early Espresso and then a smaller piece of Very Vanilla. Bring in my Textured Notes dies. Stamps. These aren't dies, these are stamps. All right, let's go ahead and stamp this in Pecan Pie. And we'll just do this. And then maybe without re-inking, we'll do that. That's nice. And then we want to put a sentiment on here. So we could do that in either Pecan Pie or we could do it in Early Espresso. Let's see which one I think I want to do. So this is what we're going to have on the top here. And we can put it on this, put it on an angle to accentuate those stripes, I think. Or you could just put it straight. I think I kind of like it on an angle. Maybe I could do an angle with both. Well, maybe keep the, yeah, I kind of like that, I think. Yeah, that's what I like. I'm gonna stamp my thank you in decisions. I think I'm gonna do it in Early Espresso. It'll look fine in either one, but I'm gonna do it in Early Espresso. There we go. Let's go ahead and just put this in here. And we wanna offset it a bit. Oh, I really want it to go the other way, I think, but too late now. There we have it. Let's just add this, we'll put this up on dots, dimensionals. There we go. We do have some dots here that we can add if we wanted to add those. Let's see, we also have some really different and heavier kind of gems. Let me see if I can find those. Yeah, we've got these, and they're so heavy that they don't like to stay in their package correctly, but they still stick to your paper just fine. So let's take a couple of these and just put them on. They look like bugs when they're jumbled up like that. Let's try. I can't get it off there. There. And let's try a smaller one. Remember, we want 3. Let's try another smaller one. I want out here. Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there. Just a very masculine looking card. And very simple to do. Put my little bugs back in their package. And there we go. You know what? This one gets lost out here. I'm not gonna put the, oops. Now I gotta get a dot on here. All right, let's get out some of my paper pumpkin dots. I'll put it on the back of this thing so we don't waste it. And peel off the backing. Make sure that dot just stays there. I'm gonna put it right there. And then I'm gonna just peel off that adhesive right there. Oop. There we go. Oh, that's better right there, huh? That's better right there. And then we just need to put an inside layer in. It's just going to be very vanilla, covered with more of those. Let's bring this in here. And I can stamp right here because the rest of it's not going to show. And I'm going to do just what I did on another card. Just stamp right along the bottom. Not always re-inking. Look how pretty that is. Oh, you know what you could do? You could also, because I did see I put my leaf out there. Now I'm going to have to put my leaf out there a lot. So we'll just put them out here so it doesn't look like I made a mistake. Here we go. Oh, that's kind of cool. Happy little accidents. There we go. We have a nice little masculine card. Thank you card. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope I've been able to share something new with you that will either give life to your present collection of Stampin' Write markers or inspire you to maybe add to your collection. You can find the link to my online store in the description of this video. If you've never purchased Stampin' Write markers before, they come in color families. So they will come in a package of 10 if you order either the neutrals, subtles, brights, or regal families. and they come in packages of 5 if you are ordering in colors, whether it be last year's in colors or this year's in colors. Again, don't forget about that ordering special. So if you are thinking about adding to your collection, now is a great time because you're going to get double Stampin' rewards. Half from Stampin' Up and half from me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I'm sure mine's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to tell you how Stampin' Up spoiled us at Disney World.